Wisdom is the wise word spoken by the wise man. If you got family members, friends, just anybody who you grew up with and you have a certain type of attachment to, that kind of that intermingle with your life so heavy that part of you and how you are has to do with them, and they turn against you for whatever reason. That could be hard for people to take. That could be disheartening, man. But see, what people got to realize is this. Mind you, if you're watching this, you're probably one of those people that's trying to change your life or that is changing your life. Now, that's the key word, change. So what happens is everybody doesn't change at the same time. So it's not as personal and as big of a deal as you may want to make it or tell yourself. You just outgrow people sometimes. So what happens when you outgrow them, remember, they're deeply ingrained in your life and how you are. So as you start to change, their view of you changes. Let's say, look, this is y'all, and you start to change. So their view changes. Now they see you from a different angle. And if they haven't, evolved to that point, then they see you different. So when they see you different, they treat you different. One, because sometimes they don't understand what's going on with you. So sometimes it's not even malicious. Sometimes it is. Either way, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's just indicative of, hey, I don't fit here anymore. That's perfectly fine. Perfectly. Like, you do not need those people, bro. You don't need those people. And that's important for you to get through your head. You don't need those people. It would be nice to have them, I understand. But see, when you change, you got to really change. You got to evolve into a different person. And that different person may not have that many siblings, or may not have such and such type of relationship with such and such, an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, a sibling, whatever. So that person may not have that, and that's what you're evolving into. So that's actually a good sign. So you hearing it. It's a good sign. It's a good thing. Now, 1 second, y'all. Moringa. By the way, drink moringa. By the way. See, when you are really changing, it ain't the best tasting, but the energy it gives you it's like caffeine, but it's cleaner because it's, not, yeah. But anyway, so when you are truly changing, you got to be all in. These are the teachings of Neville Goddard. You got to be all in to the point where, okay, I'll give you an example. I had just came home from jail, one of the many times I'm coming home from jail, because I used to be a dum-dum. Not many like that, but quite a few. And, I was with my ex at the time. And she picked me up, and we were riding, and I seen a new Chevy Tahoe, and they had just changed the body style. So I think this is 2014, 15, something like that. 15 maybe, yeah. And they had just changed the body style, and I seen it, and I was in love with that truck. And I had no money. So she told me, she said, you want an $80,000 truck and you don't got $80,000. Touche, but when you working with this power, you got to be the operative power. And so you can't hear things like that. You can't let things like that have anything to do with how you think and how you maneuver. You can't. Your job is conviction. You have to, no pun intended, you have to convict yourself. You have to convince yourself that the wish is already fulfilled. Not that you want it to be fulfilled. You can't convince yourself that you have the wish. Well, you can do that first. But once you know what the wish is and you're sure about it, you got to convince yourself not that you will have it, but that you already do. That's what you got to do. You got to convince yourself you already have it. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it could be done. So what I would do first, I said, you know what? Money is everywhere, and I can get the money for this car. And so shout out to my cousin Tree. We read this book called E Squared that she put me on. And I did this thing where I found money. And the way I found money was pennies on the ground in the parking lot of my ex's house. So I found pennies and I just kept telling myself, like, okay, they're pennies, so they're easy to, So I said, these are everywhere. And I found pennies everywhere. And then everywhere I went for like a week, I got obsessed with it. And it was pennies everywhere. And then I said to myself, I don't even need to do this. I'm doubting myself. I want the truck. I don't have to worry about finding the money. I just want the truck. We went to a dealership. The first time I went and I sat in that new Tahoe so long that they made me get out. They said, you can't just, relax and hang out in the car or whatever. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, my fault. But what I was doing was I was giving it sensory realness. See, when you looking for the next thing and when you going to the next level, you need something to gauge it. You need something to, if you've never seen a nice restaurant, if you've never been in one, you have to go in one to know if you want that. You gotta go in there. So, and then you give it the sensory realness so that it's easier to convince yourself that it's a real thing. So when you go home and when you're doing your visualizations and when you meditating and all that, you got all the sensory realness to give it. You know how it feels. You know how it smelt inside. You know the view to the road from the driver's seat. With the steering wheel. You know everything about it. So you can make it more real. That's what I did. We went back a few weeks later, just randomly. We was going to the store. I said, stop right there. Went in there, told him I wanted it. And after I, told him my information and stuff, he said, man, I've been doing this 12 years, man. You're not going to get the truck. I said, oh, damn, you can't do the paperwork for me? Because if not, I was just going to go to the next place. It was already real. By that time, I was already waking up looking for my car keys. And I didn't have a car. So he said, yeah, I can do the paperwork, but it's just not going to work. Oh, good. Okay, do the paperwork. I don't know how long after, maybe a week. It couldn't have been 2 weeks. So yeah, let's call it a week. So I get a call. I'm asleep. Hey, this is Victor from Criswell. Oh, my truck is ready? And I hear the hesitation in his voice like, yeah. Okay, I'll be there in a minute. So I get there, it's already mine. I already knew it. So I get there and he stops me. He says, hey man, I don't know what you do, but you keep that same attitude. He did, and then he said, we need $1,000 down payment. Do you have it? I said, I don't have $1,000. He said, can you come up with it in a week? I said, I don't know, probably. He said, okay, take it. So, true story, by the way. And then somebody randomly gave me the $1,000. That's another story. It'll take too long, but yeah, somebody gave me the $1,000 not too long after that. So when you are changing, when you're changing your circumstance, when you're changing things, you have to completely convince yourself that it's real now. and not that it's real later. Making it real later would just make it real later. You know, so it's always later, by the way, because the only time your brain, is the present is the only time that actually counts. So you got to be real now. That's even with this YouTube channel, bro. Like, that's it's gonna take too long, right? But I made something real here, and y'all will be able to see it as y'all be able to see it y'all yourself. So you don't have to guess, right? You gotta convince yourself that it's real. So don't be scared to lose people, bro. Don't be scared to lose people, places, things, circumstances. Don't be scared, bro. You'll be all right, just like you always been. With love and respect, Rock Chem, not them. I'm out. Peace.